Hey, welcome to the Justin Johnston Show. I'm Justin Johnston. I'm a commercial real estate broker, investor in commercial real estate for the past 28 years, almost 29 years, come March of next year. We appreciate you coming on this journey. And it's been kind of, I'll tell you what, it's coming to the end of the year. It's been kind of a crazy year. I wouldn't say a tough year, but it has had a lot of unexpected things. And the reason I'm tuning in tonight is just after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, my wonderful father-in-law, who treated me as if I was his own, and he was a good mentor to me. And, for whatever reason, I have had some great mentors in my life. I like to think that I know that I tried to put myself in a position that would attract people of influence. And I guess not all of the mentors in my life have been men. I don't know if parents count. My mother is definitely a huge mentor to me. And I've had some others in the real estate business that I started with, Gene Tanner. It's not why I want to go with this, but 2023, I'll tell you, it's been a crazy couple years. Some of them very good, but with my father passing away, I saw him at Thanksgiving. The day after, he's watching basketball games, football games, whatever, and he calls up my brother-in-law, who used to live in Japan. And he's like, "Hey, you're coming with me. We're going to Japan. You're going to be my interpreter." And that's shortly thereafter, he had a massive heart attack or whatever it was, and didn't pass away right then. He was resuscitated, but he was taken to the hospital, and he was it was the following day that he had passed away, and we were able to go by there. And I think that I was going to leave do a podcast to pay tribute to him, and then just the other day, Charlie Munger, Berkshire Hathaway's vice president for all those years, passed away as well. And I know that a lot of people, he was a character, and I loved a lot of his quotes and a lot of the things that he would say in public. But I guess for me, I'm 53 years old. Charlie Munger was 90. He was 99, almost 100 years old. My father-in-law was 83, had just turned 83 in August. My dad's 80. He just turned 80 this year. And both my parents are alive. And I guess I look at that generation, and they didn't have life easy. It was really tough. I think in some ways a little more simple, but they sure seem to travel a lot. And but I think what I love about them the most is they really were simple. Now, not everybody in that generation was simple, and they weren't grounded. But the stock of people that I follow and that I come from are very grounded, solid people. And so I just wanted to pay that tribute. I'm going to include Charlie Munger as part of that, just because they kind of come from the same stock, and just acknowledging that overall. Now, of course, this show's, I'm a commercial real estate agent. Drive around wherever you're at, wherever you live, there's real estate, right? There's dirt, either dirt, not managed well, beautiful farms that are around here. Our last podcast was on regenerative farming and how that is taking hold. Some buildings that are dilapidated, some of them are pristine trophy properties. The bottom line is every property is either managed, owned, being leased, owner occupied. I'm not talking about residential, though some of the larger, right, some of the multifamily projects are considered commercial to a lot of people. For me, they would be. Some of them would be. Not every one of them, I would say, but the commerce side right? So people doing business, and that is what this show has kind of come down to. The people that are leasing, owning, managing the commercial real estate, or land, or farms. My father-in-law, my clients, my mentors, I think we're all leaders, not just to me, but to the community that they were in. Not just to the community, but to their families. I think they were good men for the most part. I know they were. They were great men. My father-in-law was a great man, and he dearly loved his wife. He loved his family, and the older I get, the more that is important to me. Not everybody wants to have a family, especially nowadays, but I'll tell you that you will be missing out on the best part. Because it just continues to grow, and I guess that's not universal. It could be there could be a lot of heartache with family, and a lot of sadness, but for the most part, the goal is to have posterity and to enjoy helping that posterity of yours grow. And I'm proud of my ancestry and where we come from. Now, I talked about them being leaders. That generation is, to me, they just did things because it was right. They did things because it was what they said they were going to do. They didn't need adoption papers to adopt a baby that was, maybe illegitimate, or there was issues, or a parent had died. I really think, for the most part, the handshake was the most important thing. I think they obviously used contracts and things like that, but at the end of the day, if they couldn't bond by their word as a true leader, that is where I think the difference is. They would not be openly saying, we're not having kids, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're spoiled and we're in society. They had hard times, and the goal was to make it, whether you had children or not, to make the next generation have a better life. Now, only in America would you say this, in my opinion. I am writing a book. It's called Peace and Prosperity. Of course, if I've talked about it once, I've talked about it a million times. Hopefully that book is something that I will finish by the end of 2024, I hope. It may not happen, but of course it was my childhood. Born in 1970, there was plenty of crazy things going on in the world, but the Vietnam War had just finished. Ted Koppel started Nightline, and that was because of the hostages in Iran, the Ayatollah Khomeini. That's when I first started to watch television, and of course then one of the greatest presidents of all time, Ronald Reagan, came in, and I would say even another influential person, all from this generation that I'm talking about, right? Milton Friedman. He was an amazing economist that was very straightforward and just said, hey, open up the markets. Life will always be better. That's what America was founded upon. That's where we're going with this. And that's what my book starts out as, and how up through the 80s it appeared that there was a life of peace and prosperity. Of course, there was a couple Bushes that were presidents and in the White House, and I'm not super fond of any of their policies or things that they did, but I believe them to have good hearts. I want to say that they did and that they tried to do the best, but I think all those policies put in place from the 80s have lasted and got us through to this time period. Because when you do something and you do it right, you set things on a path that you're thinking already. The policies and procedures of, and I'm not talking about just the nation, it was in every home, the majority of homes, obviously it wasn't, but that people were believing a certain thing that was going to take us into the next 20 or 30 years. I think that's what happened. I think that's why we had such peace and prosperity, though we did have some wars that I'm not sure why we got into them 100%. We were attacked. Yeah, it's obviously 9/11. People wanted to preserve the rights and freedoms here. It goes back to what I said before. Now, I did print out a couple things. What I had read some things that Charlie Munger, and I loved him. He had I have to wear these glasses. I used to not wear glasses, but he's got the thick Coke bottle, what we used to make fun of anybody that had those thick Coke bottle glasses on, and my father-in-law, who I've got a pretty good thick head of hair. I think my father for that. There's a long line of Johnsons that have thick head of hair. But every time I saw my father-in-law, he would ask, "Man, it looks like you just got a haircut, or you just had a haircut, and man, that's growing a lot." So, anyway, a good man. But I point that out because, hey, maybe by the time I'm 70 something or 80 or in my 90s, I won't have my hair. I will have thicker glasses, and I loved and respected those men and the things that they said. Now, a couple quotes that I wanted to take from Charlie Munger and the views that my father-in-law had. Constant Jones. I don't know if I said his name. I think I did, but he did not love his name. He wanted to go by CJ, which, Constant Jones. He went by Kant for a little bit. It was a little more common in the 70s and 80s, but he didn't love his name. But he was constant. He was the Polaris. He was the North Star, and he did things because of this and because of his beliefs, and he wasn't going to be swayed, right? Maybe this isn't totally appropriate, but I do get a kick out of it. Munger said, one of the quotes he had, "I think that every time you see the word EBITDA, you should substitute the word bullshit earnings," okay? Which, of course, all the Wall Street types are talking EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's what we call operating income, right? Basically, what is pre-tax earnings, pre-tax, pre-interest money that would belong to the shareholders. It's my interpretation of that. And, of course, that's what you're stating, and of course, that equates to some value of the companies. They weren't buying and selling stocks every day like traders. They built companies. They helped build companies. They invested in companies that they believed in the management. And Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger may go down as the greatest investors of all time, and I don't think one was without the other there. Now, my father-in-law was a home builder. He was a custom home builder in Utah, Idaho for 50 years, and he had a tremendous name. The company was J2. His son and which is my brother-in-law, and his son, third generation, are operating the company now, and they're known for no BS. They'll get the job done when they say they're going to get the job done, on time, on budget, and that's why they're still building homes after, I say 50 years, but yeah, it's probably been pushing 60 years since the next generation took it over. Having said that, there was a saying that I remember he used to say, this is my father-in-law, constant, smart people do smart things, right? Which what he was trying to point out is that the same thing that Charlie Munger had said, that a lot of people with high IQs, people that are supposed to be really intelligent, and they are intelligent, right? They're intelligent. They can process, they can think outside the box, but why in that moment won't they? Or can they not? They let the emotions take over. They made a wild investment based on numbers. They were looking at pro formas. They were looking at spreadsheets. And they knew it was going to do this. Oh, something happened in the market, it's going down. And they would be bailing out, right? They just didn't have the temperament. They didn't have the guts for it. And I don't know of anybody that doesn't go through that that's successful, right? I mean, you have to learn that at one point. It's like, okay, what do we believe? And how do we accomplish that through the structure of investments in a market that, whether it's real estate, commercial real estate, or companies, maybe building a company up or investing in companies and understanding how things are going to be affected in the market and having the guts to stay through that and understand that process. Sometimes you have to be able to step back and see the big picture. You have to just see how all things are working. And I think if you have a pretty good understanding of where you're going, right? There's that mentality of not following the crowd, right? But you understand your own beliefs, and we're talking religious, ethical, all the things that I guess would say. Well, here's what I've learned on this: your reputation, your integrity are the two greatest assets that you have, and that will help make a deal happen, or it might kill a deal. And if you screw up even one time, all of many years of high levels of integrity, your reputation of being a straight shooter, a person that performs by not performing or choosing not to, or getting soft, is another huge problem that I've seen over the years, to where they don't like to work anymore. They've had too much success, and so, you know what, we'll put it off till next week, or they're not getting it done, and they're not doing what they say they would do. You lose that, and it can be immediately gone, and people will talk about that. I've had some of that in my life when I went through my divorce and had some other bad decisions I was making. I had some addiction issues, and man, I took. I said I've been doing this 28 years, almost 29. At the time, it was about. I'd been doing it 15 years, and I had put myself in a bad position on that. And it wasn't that people were losing money. I wasn't doing what I said I was going to do. To the best of my knowledge, all the investments that I got people into, they worked out. The properties that I owned with my partners, they ended up being good investments. But the integrity of who I was and what I was about had that effect. And I do know that far beyond any money that I can put into a transaction at any given time, it is my reputation for integrity that is the greatest asset that I have. You know, these men that I'm referring to, and especially my father-in-law, they didn't follow the herd. They in fact, by following the herd, you're with the masses, right? You're average at best. And my wife doesn't like when I say this, but I have felt this way ever since I was a young boy. And that was, I think I saw a commercial. The commercial was, I think it was a Citigroup commercial. It was a rainy day on Wall Street or out there in the city. And there's all these people that are going down, and they've got black umbrellas. And there's one person with a red umbrella, and they're going the opposite direction. They're cutting through, and you can see this red umbrella. And they're moving faster than the other people, and they're going up steps. And I can't even remember what the slogan was, but going against the grain or something like that. I remember seeing that commercial, and it just stuck, man. I mean, that's how I felt about almost everything. Now, my wife doesn't like me saying that because she knows that I was wrong in a couple areas. The point I'm making is my mentors did not change what their beliefs were. They knew that if the masses were going that direction, don't take my example or my advice of saying, if they're going that direction, go the opposite direction, okay? My mentors were smarter. My father-in-law would say, hey, everybody's going that direction. You know, maybe we ought to recalibrate. Let's step back and look at the right place to go. Of course, that pertains to anything in life, right? Not just the direction people are walking, but in every aspect of life. But I still contend that if everybody is going a certain direction, probably opposite is better than following or herding in with them. You know, I've never known, my father-in-law was a little different, and as a tribute to him, I think he had a core set of beliefs, and part of the beliefs were he was a Mormon. He was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and he was raised in a time where there was a little more, it wasn't accepted, but I mean, that guy believed in Christ, and he didn't mix business with that, and he wasn't, having awkward conversations. He was happy, and he knew where he was going. He knew what he stood for, and he knew who he was trying to become like. And I don't think there's a better person that you can strive to become like. I don't see Jesus as this passive, oh my gosh, everything he stood for was the harder route. right? That's what my father-in-law stood for. It wasn't difficult for him to do because he resolved to do it. He was not worried about what people thought he did or say. He was a leader. And I just wanted to point that out. Sorry, I'm glad I had these notes here because I see leaders of industries, Wall Street, presidents, stand up and say, if I hear them say, hey, we are, the interest rates are going to be coming back down. Well, they don't control the interest rates, right? Why the hell would they be saying that? And what difference does it make? Because that's not leadership. Remember earlier when I was talking about leadership, decisions that are made, not always, but oftentimes they are because they're here. They're being made from the core of who that person is. They're thinking about all the other employees of a company. They're thinking about their family and the generations of unborn family. What's the right thing to do? What do we sacrifice now, and how do we get there? And also prosper as we're doing it. So any soundbite like that, the politicians today are so fragmented and broken and divided. It's disgusting. It's almost as if none of them stand for anything. I mean, I would rather just have them stand up and say, this is what I believe. I believe in open and free markets. And again, I think I've said this before. I'm probably more of a libertarian because I have neoliberalism is the core of not messing with anybody else's business out there, but having confidence in the people. We're going to find the best route. We don't need government. Government's only going to mess things up. If we turn it over to government, that is a guarantee that it's going to be mismanaged. Now, some things have been managed better than others, and we do need a government because we have to have national defense and allowing people to not be beaten or molested here at home from other members of society. The point I'm making is the soundbite. They're making a guess. They're just talking out the other end of their, you know what? And I don't know why they do that, because it's so evident. But they don't care. It's the same guy that stands up and he's pointing his finger, either actually or, hey, I'm sorry, we couldn't do this because of the market or because this Democratic president, we can't do it. And so, I mean, it's an excuse. Everything's an excuse. When I see somebody pointing the finger or blaming anybody else, they may have a really good reason to do it. They may think that they do. The bottom line is they're not a leader. Man, leadership comes at a high cost where you have to stand in there and take the shots for what you believe. And that's really what we're lacking now. A lot of people think that's standing up for this, some right-wing thing, right? That's what some people may hear me say. It is not that. I do not want to mess with anybody's lifestyle. And I mean that. I don't think we should have anything illegal. Drugs? Are you kidding me? How many billions, trillions of dollars have been spent on wasting the treasury of the United States to say we are on a higher plane. We don't allow drugs to be, but we're fueling all of the drug trade around. Basically, they want to get them here because that's where you can sell the drugs, right? How asinine. That's for another podcast altogether there. And I'm just going to close with this. This was, and I did witness this. I'm not exactly sure. I love John Maxwell. I think I've read almost everything that he has, every book that he's written, and I know he's got 2.0 and 1.0 and leadership this way and that way. I don't remember all of them. I didn't think he was so old, but somebody told me that this I think it was an Instagram video that I saw, was his son, because he referenced his father. I hate to quote, not give proper credit, but essentially what it said, and this is, I'm saying this because I do respect Maxwell. I respect that older generation of men that stood for something, and not just men, the women. In fact, maybe that's really what it is. My mother-in-law didn't pass away, but my mother and mother-in-law and women of that generation have the highest standards of anybody that I know. And maybe that's why the men could be so focused on what they believed, is because they didn't have to worry that their wife was not supporting them or leading the way. It's hard for me to speak from any other source except from a man. That's what I am. I've actually never been able to figure out women, but I love and admire. My wife is why I try to do and make our future generations better. That I want to be a better man, and she has that compass that allows for me to pull back and check with her, and that, okay, I'm on the right course. This is what I want to do. And anyway, so the quote of the video, which falls back to Constant and Charlie and my father and my other mentors, Gene Tanner, Don Blackwelder, Boyd Polton. I'm leaving a couple others out because there's been some others out that have just been good friends that I've gone to lunch with. Russ Berry. I mean, some of my old partners at NAI Newmark. They took an interest in me. They were my mentor. Whether they thought they were or not, I think that they understood and believed that. But here, essentially, this is what it says in this video. That everything rises and falls on leadership. Period. End of story. Not some things, not most things rise and fall upon leadership. Everything rises and falls upon leadership. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with a lawn mowing business, but if you have a lawn mowing business and you're employing lots of people, then it has to do with you mowing and doing on time and a good job thousands of lawns. Leadership has nothing to do with commercial real estate. But if I was to get on here and just talk about commercial real estate and industrial properties, then it really has nothing to do with what I want to project. I'm on taking this podcast is because we are all tied to real estate, and it's the business owners, the owners of real estate, the managers of real estate, the managers of families and funds and all that other stuff. Every property has some type of maintenance or management. Those people is what it is. So it is leadership on my behalf of me doing what I say I'm going to do and hopefully leasing and selling a hell of a lot of industrial property. Hopefully I can do that better than anyone else in my world. More, I don't know if more is the right answer to that. Obviously, if you're doing a lot, you're thought of as a good practitioner and whatever you're doing, but I would rather have fewer clients that rely upon me and me rely upon them and give them the best service that I can. Now, we're trying to grow this company so that we can do that. So that was me ad-libbing to that, and I want to end this video with the way that it was ended on the Instagram video, which may be John Maxwell's son. And the point that he made is that it is all about the ability to lead. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And this is dedicated to my father-in-law, Constant Jones, who was an incredible leader and a man of integrity. Thank you for tuning in.